The Oscars were last night, and Mikey Madison, who played a former Ghostface, actually took home the Academy Award for Best Actress. Congrats, Mikey! Believe it or not, there was another big update from the Oscars regarding the next Scream film, coming from Patrick Dempsey, Mark Kincaid himself. Now let's get into this mysterious new update. Hey everybody, I'm KillJoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. So this past weekend in the world of film was all about those little golden statues, all with the same name. The Academy finally recognized some good horror films from this past year, and The Substance actually won Best Makeup and Hairstyling. A huge win for that horror masterpiece. I wish I could say that the Academy was finally starting to respect the horror genre, but the In Memoriam section last night left out a few notable performers in our space who unfortunately passed recently. Shannon Doherty, Olivia Hussey, Michelle Trachtenberg, and Tony Todd did not get recognized during the show Sunday night. Frankly, the Academy should be ashamed for this. Not that this is any sort of new take or whatever, but this award show just simply does not represent the world of film like it once did. This is such a disgrace to the families of those we've lost and to genre fans all over the world. Rest in peace to Shannon, Olivia, Michelle, and Tony. You will be remembered fondly by movie fans all over the world. Stepping off my soapbox though, let's get into the Scream 7 update. During the pre-Oscar dinner, Mark Malkin of Variety was able to have a chat with Patrick Dempsey. Dempsey, of course, played Mark Kincaid in Scream 3 back in the year 2000 and was originally set to reprise the role here in 2025. Dempsey explains in this clip here why he won't be joining the next Ghostface mystery.
No, it just didn't work out, and we were dealing with the fires and everything that was going on, and the schedule didn't work out.
They'll probably do another one, and you'll come back for that.
I'm sure they'll do another one.
It was reported on December 10th that a fire had broken out in Dempsey's Malibu neighborhood. That was right at the tail end of Scream 7's pre-production, and I think Mark here is clarifying that this wasn't a pay dispute, it was a scheduling conflict. A very understandable and unfortunate scheduling conflict. That's not to say that this won't hurt Scream 7's story, however, as Dempsey was playing a returning character. It was first teased in Scream 2022 that Sydney's husband was Mark Kincaid from Scream 3, and that was even confirmed by the Scream 2022 directors from Radio Silence in a later interview. This last-minute switch up here is likely going to affect the story of Scream 7 dramatically, considering that the focal point will definitely be Sydney's family. After Dempsey couldn't accept the role, the character was changed to Mark Evans, who will now be played by Joel McHale. The question that many Scream fans have now is how will this affect the story, and will Mark Kincaid ever return to the series? So first off, and I know you guys are probably sick of hearing this, but Joel is just not my ideal choice to play Sydney's husband. Best known for his roles on comedy shows like Community, The Soup, and Animal Control, McHale's humor is usually pretty condescending and cynical. I think his Jeff Winger shtick is hilarious, but does that really fit the husband character of Sidney Prescott, a traumatized final girl with a plethora of trust issues and former enemies? I just don't see the chemistry there. Dempsey would have made sense because he was literally one of the heroes of Scream 3, and a romance was even teased between the characters back then. He had already gone through a Ghostface attack with Sidney Prescott, making him a pretty ideal candidate to play Sidney's husband. Trauma brings people together, and Sidney knows that she can trust the guy. After all she's gone through, do you think she would really get vulnerable with some guy she just met named Mark Evans? A name that sounds suspiciously made up? Considering that there is absolute proof out there that Patrick Dempsey was certainly in talks to reprise the role to play Sydney's husband here in this upcoming flick, I'm sure that some sort of rewrite happened. And now the question is, was that sloppy? Did they have enough time to do it? Is this still a strong storyline that, like I said, is probably going to be the focal point of this next movie? It might have been rushed and probably wasn't the strongest idea of what the writers for this one had in mind. I do want to make it clear that that's not supposed to be a diss towards writer Guy Busick or just Joel McHale in general. I like both of these guys a ton, but this just seems like an unavoidable weak spot for the 7th entry. I mean, look at what happened with Scream 3 when it hit a bunch of production problems. That movie could be way better than it already is. Now, will Patrick Dempsey ever return to Scream? Well, right at the end there, he says they're probably gonna make another one, so maybe he'd be down to return. You know, under better circumstances. And I think most people would agree with Dempsey's sentiment here. I'm sure there's going to be more Scream movies, especially with an 8th installment and a spin-off rumored to be in the works already. When a franchise is making money like this, that is not a good time to stop making those films. So will we see Mark Kincaid again? I think absolutely yes. The silver lining to this supposed rewrite is that anything can happen with Sydney's new husband. Maybe Joel McHale's our new Ghostface. Maybe he dies viciously in the opening scene, or maybe he handles the Ghostface situation Scream very poorly. My new theory revolves a lot around that last point there. Considering all of the similarities to the 2023 murder mystery It's a Wonderful Knife, written by self-proclaimed Scream fan Michael Kennedy, I can totally see why Joel might have been cast here. That film sees Joel McHale become our second killer of Angel Falls, doing all the dirty work for the evil mayor. I think there's a number of reasons why Joel McHale will likely not be our Ghostface in this new flick, and the biggest one is absolutely the fact that he had kids, multiple kids, with our final girl over an extended period of time. Unless he's playing the most insane long game in murder mystery history. I do, however, still think Joel could be a secondary villain, very similar to the likes of Cotton Weary. If you remember in Scream 2, Cotton Weary shows up again to set the record straight on what really happened to Maureen Prescott. He wants that Diane Sawyer interview with Sidney Prescott so badly to clear his name and potentially gain celebrity status. Sure, he might save the day at the end, but at what cost for Sidney Prescott? She ends up being forced to do something she really didn't want to do. Cotton, of course, dies at the beginning of Scream 3, fulfilling a be careful what you wish for prophecy. But this slimy character never donned the mask himself. I also want to throw out John Milton as well. Not a Ghostface, but definitely a villainous character. It is not the first time that this franchise has seen villains not wearing a costume. I think they could do something very unique in Scream 7 by having the character of Mark Evans not handle a slasher situation very well. I mean, think about it. He wasn't present during the events of Scream 4 and 5, where his wife was battling Ghostface in the city where all of this madness started. To explain why Sidney never even got a phone call during this time, you could simply say that Mark was busy taking care of the kids at home. Mark Evans has only ever heard about the traumatizing events in Sidney Prescott's life, up until now, where he has to come face to face with the ghosts of his wife's past to defend his family now. We also heard in Scream 6 that Sidney, Mark, and the kids are someplace safe during the events of that film. What if 7 decides to play with that, saying that was a command decision from Mark Evans, the patriarch of the family, saying we have to go hide somewhere while all of this shit is happening? Maybe things got way too crazy in 2022 when his wife almost died, or going back to 2011 when she was even closer to death. This would create a very interesting dynamic that Scream 7 can explore between Sidney Prescott and her new husband character. Sidney is the one to face the danger head on, where Mark Evans maybe just wants to go someplace and hide. Now, for those who have seen Scream 3, you might agree that Mark Kincaid and Sidney Prescott likely have a similar headspace when it comes to terrifying situations like this, possibly a better dynamic than what Mark Evans could have with Sidney in this theoretical universe I'm creating here. What if Mark Evans here dies in a very thematic way? He's backed up into a corner trying to hide away from Ghostface, but then it's too late. That could lead to a new romance, potentially in Scream 8, between our Hollywood cop and our franchise's original heroine. I could get into that. Maybe this rewrite could address this odd mix-up by undoing itself by the time the film ends. I think that's the best case scenario for Scream 7, considering that Scream 8 is rumored to already be in the works alongside a spin-off. Again, take a lot of what we're talking about in this video with a grain of salt, but the possibilities are endless for the future of Scream. This is a franchise with a lot of fans. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. There's certainly more story here, but will 7 set up more to come with Sidney Prescott and her family? This sort of shakeup could be a really interesting way to do that. Hey everybody, before we wrap up today's video, please make sure to subscribe to this page for more horror movie updates just like this. I really appreciate everyone who's subscribed to the page already. Thank you for your support. And while you're at it, go check out my gaming channel, GullGotha. We're doing a bunch of crazy streams over there playing Dead by Daylight and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing to that page too. What do you guys think about Scream 7 so far, and how do you feel about Joel McHale playing Sidney's husband? Would you rather have Mark Kincaid back? Thank you all again for watching. Please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.